A lands deck with 2 life from the Loams? Oh. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Thomas has asked me to build a deck around Erinis Gloom Stalker. Let's shift that over one row there. So this is a 3/3 death-touching halfling ranger. Whenever it attacks, return target land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And I was asked to brew around this. Now, obviously, with a lands deck, we don't need to work too awful hard to end up with some number of lands in our graveyard, especially if we are doing some amount of self-milling. And the biggest thing that I wanted to do in building this deck is try to find redundancy of creatures. How do I get things into my graveyard and then benefit from them? So we are going to have 6 Erinis and Barrowgoyf as our suite of creatures here. So we have 12 creatures in this lands deck, which is like way, way more than normal. And I'm going to fit in some main deck removal, which is something you often don't see from these lands decks, because I do want to make sure that these creatures can stay alive and connect. And I do want some number of cards that I can go ahead and retrace with 6, because representing infinite fatal push for the rest of the game is very, very real against, the Tamios and Orcish Bowmasters and other small creatures that might gum up the battlefield. Now, Thomas gave me a couple of initial deck lists and was kind of like, go wild. And in looking at the deck lists, some of them I think were too greedy in terms of the number of colorless sources. Like some of them had like Stage and Depths and Ancient Tomb and Wasteland and Urza Saga and 2 Ghost Quarters, and I was like, whoa, we've got to pull this back, especially if we are trying to be a 2-color deck. And some of the drafts did not have Exploration. Exploration, I think, is a good portion of the end game of this deck, where you eventually find a life from the loam and just kind of go wild with exploration. It's also something that is really, really good, like force of will fodder. You play that, your opponent forces, and you go, okay, Ancient Tomb, one of my 12 threats, and proceed with the game as is. I think there's some question of which tutor targets do you want for Urza's Saga in the main deck versus the sideboard. Since we are more creature heavy than normal, I'm going to opt for both Boots and Shadow Spear in the main deck here, whereas normally I probably wouldn't Shadow Spear in the main deck here. But there's certainly an argument to just play Haywire Might in the main deck because exiling the One Ring is so incredibly important. I'm going to give Void Mirror another shot in this league. This is a card that kind of does nothing or everything. It's very, very feast or famine in terms of its performance. But I'm willing to give it another go. And I think Toxic Deluge is going to be very good here. The creatures that I do have kind of have big butts. Like 3/3 is the smallest one of these under normal circumstances. So there's going to be a lot of times where I can cast a Toxic Deluge and keep my creatures while wiping my opponent's board. So we'll see how this plays out. Folks, if you need your Erinis or anything else, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're great. I've got some deck building plans that I haven't quite gotten to, but when I do, I'll be using my own promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on my order, knowing that I will get free shipping and get everything in one envelope from one retailer, and that feels pretty darn good. Alrighty, let's battle. This right here, this double Mox Diamond opener, this is some sicko shit. So there's Mox Diamond. Discard an Urborg. There's Mox Diamond. Discard a Bayou. Play a Wasteland. Play an Erinis. So now we are going to get some lands to graveyard very quickly. Potentially messing with my opponent's ability to play their first turn spell properly. See if they have basics. A Swords to Plowshares. Oh no, I'll just pivot into Life from the Loam. Deck's great. Alright, the second Life from the Loam is not doing me any favors immediately, but is still fine for if things get real weird. Any land that isn't a basic is not safe for the entire rest of this game. And when I find an Urza Saga, yeah, that's not safe. The constructs that I make are going to be pretty big. I think I just take a draw here. Nice. The Wasteland Caracas, obviously. And I'm fine casting this Life from the Loam, playing Exploration, and dropping 2 lands. I think I just find an Urza Saga off a dredge and overpower this stuff pretty easily. Voice of Victory. Sure. Well, things are a little scarier. It could just be better for me to take a full-on draw here, because hitting something like a Barrowgoyf is big game. I just have Erinis as Death Toucher. That's not what I'm looking for. And this is where not being a 4x Maze of Ith version of this deck or something can be a downside. And this is part of the reason why I do just have Fatal Pushes in the main deck. I'm at 14 already. And Bowmaster, sure. Oh, they're going to go for the Planeswalker while they still have red things. That sucks for me. I'm just taking another 6 damage there. Yikes. I don't think I have time to Life from the Loam. What a disaster. Am I dead? Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus Ajani. Yeah, I'm full on dead. My hand was insane, and I just did not draw any of my things that interacted with creatures. So, like, I needed some of these 16 cards without Maze of Ith. My dredges, on average, are fine to keep up with a creature. Like, when it was just the Ajani, that was fine. As soon as the Voice of Victory came down, then it was problematic. I'm looking at this stuff here. Just more bodies to get in front of dudes and some removal. I can certainly Soul Guide Lantern out. Pithing Needle has some text. Ojuka Bog can probably go. Ghost Quarter's probably not super realistic. These are legendary creatures, by the way. Is relevant for Caracas. I don't want to trim my land count too much for Mox Diamonds. I'm going to say that this is probably okay. Yeah. Opponent going to 5 cards. I'm going to go ahead and open up on a 6 here. If this attacks and mills, it makes the Goyf so much better. This is much worse versus Caracas and much better versus something like a Swords to Plowshares that just tries to trade 1 for 1 with it. Arid Mesa and an Ocelot Pride. Fatal Push is great. Go ahead and send on in. Trigger. Return a land. Opponent goes to 17. Now, the non-land permanent cards in my graveyard have Retrace. With non-land permanent cards, can't Retrace Fatal Push or Toxic Deluge. I think I misspoke in the deck tech. Whoops. I'm going to make this as a land drop. Row down a Goyf. And I am probably going to Fatal Push this, but there might be a more attractive target in a minute. All right, there's Guide of Souls. I'm probably Fatal Pushing that instead. I'll likely do that on my own turn, though, and just surveil right now. Trigger. Land can go to graveyard. I don't need it. I've got other lands. Oh. Sick. Bunchies. Send in. Mill immediately with 6. Like Yavimaya here. Opponent seems to be considering a block. A double block. Okay, that is 2 damage as of right now, which is not killing my Goyf. Very Macabre taking out 6 and Toxic Deluge. This is a 2/3 creature. And opponent put a new creature into the graveyard. Yep. Opponent gonna have a bad time with my Death Touch there. We take those. There's opponent's land drop. They're in terrible shape. I have double Fatal Push here. 2, like, very actively strong onboard bodies. Wasteland for that land. Amped Raptor is fine. Trigger. Revealing Swords. Swords is great. It's actually a shame I did not play out Wasteland, because I could get real cute if I had access to Wasteland. End of turn, I think I am just fine with Fatal Push. once, though. Forest is not what I am looking for. Send in with 6, mill 3. Pick up another Yavimaya, that's fine. Deal 2 to my opponent. Play Wasteland. Wasteland Plateau. Play Shadow Spear, discarding the Yavimaya. Then I will go ahead and equip this as well. Still have Fatal Push available. Anyway, talking about the cute line. On the previous turn, if I play out Wasteland, I could Wasteland their Plateau and then Fatal Push my own Goyf so that on my turn I can recast it from Graveyard. Opponent is chilling. Not looking for mana right now. I'm looking for something to play off of 6. Did not find it. I mean, I'll pick up a land anyway. That brings opponent to 10. No cool non-land cards here. I think I'm just going to play this for Revolt and pass the turn. I've got Fatal Push up for, like, end of turn Thalia. Doesn't happen. That's a prismatic ending on Shadow Spear. You've got it. That is not answering the core problem, though. Okay, cool. There's another threat. Send it. Trigger. Turn a Bayou. I pick up Lava Spur Boots when this happens. Down to 8. And I'm fine casting that. Discard a land. Then go bam, bam, bam for Erinis. And then I think I keep Fatal Push available rather than equip the boots. I want to hold my land for 6's ability. There's a concession there. My opponent got a little confused about how big my creature was going to be, and got a little lost in the sauce. I think my other Fatal Push still puts this game out of reach, but they made it harder than it needed to be for sure. All right, I think I'm comfortable here. I just have 16 creatures in my post-sideboard configuration for this matchup. Like, it's just lands and dudes. This is an okay opening hand. I think I actually mulligan this one. I think my Ancient Tomb and Mox Diamond starts are just better. Believe. I don't need exploration with this hand. I sure do need the top card of my library to be a land. Awkward. Yeah, 6 versus Barrowgoyf is a little tough there. Land, 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 land. Nice. Mox Diamond. Discard Life from the Loam. 1 and 2. Bam and bam. I think I just want to play this next turn, so I'll wait on Urza's Saga. Play out Wasteland. Any land is fine there, but the Life from the Loam is kind of nutty. I can also just dredge that and bump this up a lot if I feel like that's correct to do. Sure. I think I'm going to just take a draw. I'm fine with this. I think I'm fine with this. I will throw down a 2/3 Goyf. The important thing here is that it is big enough to block a Cat Warrior token. I don't think I give my opponent the Planeswalker. I think I'll let that go through. Rub land. Voice of Victory is good, obviously. And a Swords. Yep. This is a similar position I was in that previous game, where, like, I have the ability to dredge Life from the Loam, but it might just be better to look for removal. Hey, removal. I think the potential of the Planeswalker is the scariest thing here. So I will Fatal Push that out of existence. Wasteland you, and this still leaves me with enough to activate Urza's Saga for a 3/3 creature, meaning it's not free for my opponent's stuff to attack in. What you got? Red Broadside? Amped Raptor? Rigger? Guide of Souls is very good right now. And Ocelot Pride. Ugh, my kingdom for a Toxic Deluge. My problem here is that my opponent can stack these triggers in a way where the mobilize happens first, so that this ends up flying. I can still block one of these, but that was a hell of a set of cards for my opponent to have there. I'll make a 3/3. This gets bigger. I will block. Now my opponent's gained life this turn, so the tail end of this is real bad for me. So the Ocelot Pride thing happens, making the warrior token as well. Don't think I'm dredging here. Ancient Tomb, sure. So do this. Probably just get Shadow Spear. Let's equip the one that can attack immediately. My opponent can still attack with at least 2 things in the air next turn. I'm just fine sending in with this here and guaranteeing that I get my life gain. And opponent just takes it. If my opponent has more live cards here, I almost certainly just lose. Yikes. Math is for blockers. Math is for blockers. What is flying? The Amped Raptor, probably. No, the Ocelot Pride, sure. Then I will block one of these. Take a gajillion. Where does this put me? 7, which is actually much more than 7. With a cat token held back, I'm not great at aggroing in here. Toxic Deluge is a pretty hot draw. Don't think I have time to dredge. Fatal Push? I think I'm still going to die, but I can put up a little bit of a fight here. I think I am probably going to eat a cat token for free. I think my opponent will block with a cat token, and then I'll Fatal Push this so that the Planeswalker isn't threatening to kill me. Oh, all the cats? That only... Oh no, those are... okay, this is fine. We can let that damage go through. Hit my opponent for 2. Trigger. Fatal Push that. Shadow Spear there. I'm not sure if that keeps me alive through the next turn. I'm not going to math it out. I'm dead or I'm not. Those are the 2 states of this game. But I imagine that if my opponent full sends and gives Guide of Souls flying, or even a 2-1 flying, that it probably kills me. Trigger, yeah. So they're up to 29. I will block a 2-1 on the ground, gain 5. Is this 18 damage? Not 18 damage. Still in it. Larian Conqueror. Sure. Opponent will make a ton more permanents, gain a bunch of life. These are now not on, which is a disaster. Now I can't top deck Toxic Deluge. Yeah. So we are... unfortunately, just a hair too slow here in this matchup. I just don't have time to dredge life from the Loam, and my opponent has basics that Wasteland does not kill. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. Okay, opening hand is 6 mana sources, doesn't do anything. Easy mulligan. Second hand also doesn't do anything. I'm willing to go a little bit further before keeping something that just plays a 3-drop on turn 3. Yeah, this is so much stronger. So I always need these to land. What am I on? Am I on 5? I am on 5. One of these 2 is going back, and I think Wasteland goes back. I think 6 has better synergy with the Goyfs. Wasteland is going to be a big problem here. Opponent is on a Dark Depths deck. On a lands deck. Donde está Wasteland? I'm going to pass the turn, but I might just outright die. That's why my opponent goes Dark Depths, any other mana-producing land. And that's just that. Well, I guess technically I'm not dead to it. I could, like, play a reach creature. Yeah, I mean, you can choose to Wasteland me or choose to make your 20/20, and I think either one of those lines wins. Exploration for yet another land drop. That's problematic. Now this doesn't block and do this whole thing. My opponent's just going to make their thing now, so I can't top deck a Wasteland. Yikes. So we're conceding there. My opponent just turn 2'd us. And what are we doing in this matchup? Probably Endurance to clear opposing life from the Loams and block Merit Lage. Probably Haywire Might to answer Exploration type cards, and I can think about Force of Vigor. There's no way that I'm boarding in all of these cards. I think my Fatal Pushes are going to go. I think we are hoping to answer Urza's Saga in land form. I think I'm just going to be boarding out a land or two to try to make this work. And then I'll just like trim a legendary creature. I could maybe go down one artifact here as another reasonable thing to do. Yeah, this is a keep. Am I playing Ancient Tomb here? Sorry, am I playing Exploration here? Mox Diamond, discard Ancient Tomb, play other Ancient Tomb, Exploration, this land, 6. Yes. Discard, bam, 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 bam. I'll grab the basic here, throw down 6. Recursive Haywire Might off of 6 is kind of cool in this matchup. I'm hoping no Force of Vigor. Losing both of these at the same time would kind of suck. Seems like we dodged it, at least for now. There's my opponent's own Exploration and a Wasteland. Did not dodge successfully, but these have Retrace, so I might just get them back. There's a Boseiju. Hit opponent for 2. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This dies. Then I think I retrace Soul Guide Lantern and just make it so that my opponent can't get a life from the Loam going. And then hopefully 6 keeps giving me land drops. It may just be better to play Boseiju as a land there, just knowing that I'm going to get wastelanded. But this seems like it hedges against an important thing that could happen. It just passes. I don't have black mana for that right now. That's a totally reasonable magic card. Up a Wasteland. Don't mind that. Playing Wasteland is how I don't die immediately. But longer term, my opponent can just Wasteland my Wasteland and then do Dark Depths stuff. So I really want to do this. I don't know that I get to do it, though. The opponent is trying to turn Thespian Stage into Basic Forest, and I think I just say no to that. Take Dark Depths off the table, and continue to try to ride this 6. I don't care if my opponent finds something like Maze of Ith. Another Wasteland, sure. Yavimaya, that's okay. Yep, I did hit another land. Send in with 6. Return a land. Opponent takes some damage. I'm definitely making this as a land drop. And I think that's just it. I don't think their exploration matters too much at this stage if I have life from the Loam cut off. Sure. This is scary for a couple of different reasons. That can represent Caracas, that can also represent Thespian Stage. So I guess I'm going to go to Punchies and see where we end up. Build over a life from the Loam. Land drop Goyf. How am I beating the Merit Lage? So I can look. Blocking it every turn with Endurance is the answer. Not an answer that I love. I'm going to play a Goyf. Keep the land in hand. Map is presumably searching up Thespian Stage? Yes. My opponent should probably just do this now before I can Wasteland. Yep. Oh, fuck. What a last card. So that kills me now. All right. Opponent says sorry for the top deck. Yeah, look, sometimes you just gotta have it, right? GG's. Otherwise, we just like hope to draw lands and keep playing Endurance from Graveyard while attacking with Goyf, and like maybe we can get there. Sweet. Okay, my opening hand only has a singular Wasteland. That is not going to do it. And this is a fine Urza's Saga hand. Turn 1, Saga Boots. Turn 2, Ancient Tomb activate. Probably do this on turn 3. I'll get rid of Verdant. I'm likely to draw more mana. And then I'll have a little bit of flexibility with what I do with my turn 1. We've got an artifact land. It is all fine so far. A Memory Guardian. That is a 3/4 creature that is outside of range of Fatal Push. Life from the Loam is cool, but probably not what I'm doing here. So let's just go Saga into Boots directly. And we're going to be working towards Shadow Spear being the thing that I do this game. put me over the top of what my opponent is doing. We don't want something big like a Kappa Cannoneer to come down. Ooh, that is cool for a little bit later as well. I don't think I'm doing that right now, but there's timelines where I just do that with haste next turn rather than make multiple Urza Saga Construct tokens. We'll see. Fuck. I'll take some more in the air. I'll activate this. Do I have a Pithing Needle in the deck in game 1? That matters a lot here. I do. I think I just float mana. Hope my opponent doesn't activate here. They did activate. I still think I need to stop both of those Urza Sagas. So bam, bam, fetch, Bayou. I think I'm doing this now. Ooh, disaster. I'll place Soul Guide Lantern, exile a random card from their graveyard. But now my creature isn't as big as their creature. Flyer is probably getting me. There can just be an artifact that increases the power of these, your Shadow Spear, Lava Spur Boots, and I probably fall behind before I can stabilize this game with my relatively good resources. I think my opponent has Kappa. Nope. I think that was the wrong target for the Lava Spur Boots. I think it goes on the flyer that I can't block. Just objectively, that is more damage. I'm chumping this anyway every single time where I die. I can get rid of the Construct token. I don't think I can do that and get 6 into play. Yeah, I can't do that and get 6 into play. Let's see if there's a line that I'm not thinking of with a draw here. Yeah, my opponent moving Lava Spur Boots is just going to end up being lethal. We are a touch too slow here. Haywire Might is good. Force of Vigor is good. These are things I can consider. I'm going to assume that this is not good enough. I don't think this is what this matchup is about. Rim one other land, maybe. But that's fine. I don't think I want to Void Mirror here. Well, my last Urza Saga hand was way better than this one, and that didn't win. This is totally fine. I'll keep this and get rid of Ancient Tomb. And hopefully my opponent doesn't just lead on a basic island. And I'll then pass after deploying some lands. Okay, cool. That's a target for my Wasteland, which means that we're in business. Mortuary. That can go to graveyard. I don't think I dredge that. I think I just take a draw. The Wasteland, the Urza Saga. Loam, 2 things. It succeeds. Play out a Wasteland and pass. Now I think my play pattern is if my opponent plays a land that I can Wasteland, I Wasteland and dredge. Otherwise, I skip that and just take a draw trying to find creatures. I think on the draw, I'm going to play the Ghost Quarter for Urza Saga. Sub out a different land instead. Do I want Void Mirror on the draw and hope to play it on turn 1? Not really. This is also pretty slow on the draw, though. I don't know about Void Mirror. I am largely unhappy playing this card versus Null Rod, but people tell me it's better than Null Rod. This is just not strong enough. We'll mulligan that. There's a turn 1 Void Mirror. I mean, the hand's not terrible. It is certainly not good, but it interacts with a decent number of things. We don't want to see the Warp card here, and then my opponent vomits all their 0 drops into play immediately. Yeah. And a Memory Guardian. That's rough. That is just 6 power into play immediately, and this costs me 2 life as well. I don't have Toxic Deluge boarded in, so I don't know if we're going to just beat this. My opponent gets to play out the Pinnacle Emissary. Yeah, we are more prepared for like an Urza Saga start. I take 3, 6, 9 damage. I'm at 3. Yeah, no, we just can't come back from that. We got totally run over. GG's. Okay, opening hand is probably too fair here. Second hand is a fantastic Urza Saga hand that I will go ahead and keep. I'm going to get rid of an Urborg, and I think I'm just going to go Urza Saga pass and have the most flexibility for how I play out the next turn. If the Mox Diamond gets Thought Seized, I just go, oh well, and we Ancient Tomb and move on with our lives. It is an opposing Ancient Tomb deck and an aggro version at that. I can decide whether or not Wasteland is better than Make Robots. Ooh, Emery as well. So I am fully aware that my deck is not great versus these decks that can get online quickly with aggressive creatures. It's just a weakness of my deck that is looking to play tap out 3-drops. I think I'm into Mox Diamond as to not lose life immediately. I think discarding Wasteland, playing out a Bayou, passing the turn. I don't think this game is about wastelanding this land. I think this game is about equipping a Shadow Spear and gaining more life than my opponent is dealing in damage with Patchwork Automaton. I might need the damage boost, sorry, the mana boost from Ancient Tomb to accomplish what I want to accomplish. What a punish. Emery Guardian as well. I'm gonna get hit for 5. Bobble. Do this. Opponent takes their redraw. I'm unhappy. I'm formulating a plan, but I'm unhappy. I think we go Bam, Boseiju, the Urza's Saga, so that doesn't start going wild. And then this leaves me able to equip here, lifelink in for 4 immediately, recoup some of my losses, and gain increasing amounts of life. But my opponent is also dealing increasing amounts of damage, so maybe we can find something that clears the graveyard. My opponent's not all that far away from just having a 2-turn clock through my Shadow Spear. Ignoring Emery, because I don't think that's attacking, I am probably taking 8 to 10 damage this turn. And then that number plus 2 or 3 next turn. Alright, just going for a Bobble. Oh, sorry, Pinnacle Emissary. Yikes. That's going to be a lot of Patchwork Automaton triggers. No. That's such a problem. Yeah, so I take 10. Opponent gets a redraw. That's not good. I will make a friend. Do this. Go to Punchies. Send in for 5. I'm back up to 14. But there's an increasing amount of flying damage coming in. The Patchwork Automaton is scaling up very well. I don't think I can present lethal next turn. You only block flyers, is that correct? Yeah, you only block flyers. Emery on Memory Guardian. That's a recursive long-term problem as well. Opponent just gets chump blockers. There's Memory Guardian. I'm gonna have to chump with the Construct this turn. 2 cards left in hand. Not yet, but close. How am I killing through that giant Urza Saga Construct token? I mean, I'm just taking 13. 13 is not 14, and this is on cast, not on enter. So maybe Lava Spur Boots does something cool somehow? I suspect that I am just short of lethal. They're going to be 6s. Oh, my opponent didn't activate Urza Saga. Does that change things? Pithing Needle, attack in. Opponent blocks, takes 6 damage. Doesn't change it. What about Lava Spur Boots? They were at 7. Wait, hold on. Did I count the Pithing Needle making this bigger? The Pithing Needle takes 7 after blocking this. That doesn't work. If I Lava Spur Boots, my opponent's at 7 and takes 6. Yeah, I think this does not work either way in terms of killing my opponent this turn. Okay, let's see if I can survive next turn then. Name Urza's Saga. So this can't make the creature. Go to combat. Gain 7 life, which means that I'm not dead to flyers. Opponent takes that. Then drop, move, Shadow Spear to a different one of these. Disincentivize a Patchwork Automaton attack. I think my opponent still gets there with an Urza Saga something that pumps these. Fuck, was my best line to attack with 2 of them to make the Memory Guardian have to chump as well to play around like Lava Spur Boots equip? Fuck, I think it was. Realized it a little bit too late. Was a complicated turn. Yeah. Figured it out a little too late. I still think my opponent is very likely to win this one on a long enough time span. Like Emery Memory Guardian is there, Emery Pinnacle Emissary. But we got that much closer than I expected. Like, is my matchup so bad that I need to do stuff that looks like this? I don't want that to be true, but that might be true. Alright, let's bring out the Graveyard Hate. This is so glacially slow in this matchup. The 6 and the Goyf just have more immediate impact in terms of the life gain and the reach blocking than this does. I'm going to try boarding in Deluges this time to give me a catch-up mechanic. And I don't know that I get to go down Ancient Tomb. Playing these on turn 1 is a really big deal. I'm going to go down 1 Ancient Tomb anyway. That is a terrible hand. That has no green mana. Ah! No. This has the most potential of any hand so far. I might get a freebie by playing a Void Mirror. Alright. Opponent's on a 7-card hand versus my 5-card hand, and they are about to draw another card here. Like, this is going to shut off the 0-cost stuff, but my opponent has so much blue mana that it's not going to shut off a bunch of the stuff later on. I really needed this to come with a 3-drop creature. I suspect that my next turn is just going to be spent surveilling. This is going to be a Pinnacle Emissary that just makes a bunch of bodies, despite the fact that the artifacts are getting countered. Okay, this 6 is an incredible top deck. Like, this is reach for these flying tokens, in addition to everything else here. Urza Saga is what my opponent needs. That's a Haywire Might that my opponent played with their Urza's Saga instead of Seed of the Synod. There's a Lava Spur Boots. Exploration is interesting. Be a great time to find a Wasteland. Verdant Catacombs instead. Okay. While we're still in combat and I don't have priority to cast this at sorcery speed, my opponent is using a Fairy Macabre, which makes my turn much worse. 18. I think I'm going to try to get cheeky here. Go for a sorcery speed surveil land. I'm going to say no to that. I'm going to go ahead and drop exploration to leave open fatal push. I don't want like a hasty Emery coming down and ruining my day. Yeah, that's fine. I will take this amount of damage. I'll hold the fatal push for something worse later. I'll go ahead and fetch out a different land here. I was specifically holding that for fatal push. What was I doing? Got distracted. Trigger. Get an Urza's Saga. Opponent goes to 16. I'll drop Urza's Saga. Ass here. Opponent floats some mana. We could just see Pithing Needle on my Urza's Saga here. But that's one of my opponent's better ways to win from this position. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Yep. That does not eat Fatal Push. Yep. Okay. I'm now on the defensive. I need Shadow Spear next turn. Yeah, I think I'm passing turn here, unfortunately. Wish this was Null Rod. This never would have been a mana source. My heart does not have it in me for another fucking Kappa Cannoneer. Alright, this is Pithing Needled. Yeah, overall, everything bad. Absolutely everything bad. Let's draw a Toxic Deluge. Deluge for X equals 6. That is a 6. So I float mana. I get Haywire Might. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Non-creature. I can't use this to answer the Kappas. So instead, this becomes a stupid life gain engine. So do it on this. Sack, gain life. Play Haywire Might. Discarding Ancient Tomb. You fucked up my own Void Mirror. Floating Ancient Tomb mana. Okay. Yep. No, that makes sense. Probably effectively dead then. Do this. Pass turn. Take 11 from Kappas. I don't know, maybe Null Rod doesn't beat double Kappa Cannoneer either. No, my opponent needed that initial blue mana. The Warp Whoozy What's It. Let's draw Toxic Deluge. That's the plan. Opponent's on 8. Or I'm on 8, rather. I think that'll do fine. Opponent's got it here. We're very bad against these artifact decks that just get out ahead of us. GG's. Alright, I think I'm okay keeping this hand. It's not doing anything broken quickly, but if we're playing against a fair deck, 3 land drops, 2 3-drops, and 2 fatal pushes is incredible. My body is ready for Dark Ritual. Basic Island. Sure. Could still be combo. Ooh, that's a very good pickup, actually. That's legally distinct Brainstorm. I tend to see that out of show and tell players. Looted Delta. Fetch and Surveil. I don't need Bojuka Bog right now. Which one of these do I play? My opponent could just Entomb reanimate me, and none of my decisions matter. We need to think about the timelines in which my decisions do matter. I think I'm just going to play the worst one first as bait for the others to survive. Like, even if I have a Wasteland here, it's unclear whether or not the Wasteland does anything. Basic Plains. Be a Quantum Riddler Blink Ephemerate pile. Or Esper. The Fairy. Sure. I'll just bounce my threat out of play and slow me down. None of these are Wastelandable. Not that I have it, but still none of them Wastelandable. I'll redeploy the one of these that my opponent knows about, and again, I overall do think this is the worst of the 3-drops. The other 2 get better by themselves, right? Like this grows the graveyard, and this mills things to empower it, whereas this one requires the other thing to be in the graveyard already, and that feels like a fundamental difference. Looted Delta afterwards. The Teferi ability here is pretty annoying. Means that I can't fatal push mid-combat if there's some surprise friend. So very well might be. Alright, punchies. Got a fetch. A 4th basic land. That's a prismatic ending at instant speed. I think now I'm going to go ahead and just fetch. I get a basic forest. I think there's a good chance that I end up losing this game to some sort of back to basics bullshit. This is the only one of my creatures that can just attack and reasonably kill the Teferi next turn. My opponent's still got 6 cards in hand, though, so I'm not, like, super hopeful about my chances to actually connect. But this is the highest upside one, so we'll give it a shot. Mox Diamond, not particularly strong here. Send in at Teferi. Yeah. Bowmasters. Hanging my face. My opponent will just chump block, and the Teferi restrictions mean that I can't fuck with this at all. You've got it. I am taking damage here to play 6 out. And I will Wasteland one of their lands. Good Mox Diamond, but there's downsides to that. And this is just potentially another permanent next turn. Mox Diamond would help me better play around back to basics. Alright. Fairy is continuing to plus, which is probably bad news for me, because my opponent feels like they can keep it alive. My body is ready for a supreme verdict. It is a Kaito, sure. This is a -2, right? Yeah, so they're going to stun the Goyf. I can attack and kill Kaito. That buys time for Teferi, but at least the Kaito is going to die. Kaito, trigger. Come on, Urza's Saga. Negative. I'm just going to take the other basic land there. Alright, Kaito does die. Then I'm into casting this immediately. Discarding a land card. I'm good there. I don't think I need to make more land drops than that. Mystic Sanctuary. Presumably on ending here. Bouncing one of my creatures. There's a Tameo. I have Fatal Push for this, but I sure can't cast it right now due to the Teferi. I think 6 is about to eat a prismatic ending. No. Goyf is. Sure. Well, as a starting point, let's do this. Let's see if this actually dies. Oh shit, it actually dies. Combat. Swords? Swords? No? I feel like I'm getting away with murder somehow. Urza's Saga. Big get. That's also a Goyf to yard. Definitely into this. Life total be damned here. There's a 5/6. There's an Urza's Saga. And I think we're just going in. I don't want to hold back and then lose to single target removal spells. If my opponent has a Wrath of the Skies Supreme Verdict Terminus style card and clears all these at the same time, like, great. I'll still have Urza's Saga around, and if they don't, I just win. I feel like my opponent chose to plus with Teferi one too many times, and that legitimately might have given me the breathing room that I needed to win. I don't have any super sexy Pithing Needle, Destroy, Planeswalker, Sheoldred's Edict sort of cards. I might just try to become more threat dense here. I might also board Haywire Might in respect of back to basics. My opponent is playing so many basic lands, there has to be a payoff for that. I can't board out Fatal Push, Tameo is too stupid. Toxic Deluge is a thing for clearing Bowmaster tokens. I don't know that I'm super into that. My opponent could have some Murktide Regent style stuff, but I think I'm gonna go back on this. I think I'm gonna assume that Shadow Spear is not particularly important, and that I'm normally getting Lava Spur Boots, or Haste, or Pithing Needle for a Planeswalker or Tameo. Then I think I'm gonna trim a Wasteland, and I think I'm gonna get rid of the Ghost Quarter as well. I don't think the average game involves me trying to Ghost Quarter out all of my opponent's basic lands. Hell yeah, this hand's great. Flooded Strand. I am into Mox Diamond, discard my ETB tapped land, and immediately throw down a threat. Alright, did not eat swords. This can't, okay, I ate swords on their turn instead. I think I play Endurance before Urza's Saga, opting not to Surveil here. We're just going to stare at each other until end step, at which point I'm going to throw down Endurance. I will take that card out of your graveyard for things like Snapcaster Mage and Mystic Sanctuary. Unless you just have Snapcaster right now. Might be the case. Snapcaster right now. So I'll end up putting some lands back into my opponent's deck. Ugh, Ancient Tomb is not what I'm looking for there. Do I even cast this Life from the Loam? I don't even think I cast this Life from the Loam right now. I think I'm going to hold it until Urza's Saga goes through and then cast it afterwards. Just try to take some live draws off of the top. Another land drop. Yeah. Game might not be worth playing in the face of that resolved back to basics. Unfortunately, have this Boseiju in the wrong zone. So I do this. I think we plan on Haywire Might soloing this game by killing back to basics. Greatness at any cost. I mean any cost. Ow. Boots. Send in for 4. As long as my Urza Saga makes it around the table, I'm fine. Basic Island. Opponent holds back Snapcaster. I will Urza's Saga tutor, getting the Haywire Might. That moves this to a stronger creature. Ascend in immediately for 5. Sure. Double block is fine. Let's just confirm that this is happening here. Take out the back to basics. Drop Urborg. As much as I don't want to give my opponent black mana, I think I just need to not take a billion off of Ancient Tombs. So now, if I don't just immediately get got by another back to basics, I ride out this game with Recursive Urza's Saga. Yeah. Alright. I'm not dredging Life from the Loam. I'm playing another Urza's Saga. Opponent passes their turn. I'm not dredging. Goyf is totally reasonable. I can try to attack right now if I play Ancient Tomb. I think I'm not going to do that. I think I have other bullshit that I'm trying to accomplish. Namely, this. Now, dredge. Now, float mana. Pick up a Mox. Discard a tapped land. Cast Life from the Loam. Boseiju. Urza's Saga. Urza's Saga. My body is ready for Force of Negation. Force of Will is fine. I can repeat this off the Moxen alone. Force of Negation is the problem one. Yes, it is Force of Will. That is fine. Let's make my opponent have a couple of different problems. Don't have an extra mana for haste here, but you can't have it all. This is just a 2-turn clock that can soon have protection. That's a surgical. I only have 2 of those, but that still really hurts. Mystic Sanctuary. None of those cards are that great to get back. Force of Will is fine if my opponent currently has an answer to the Goyf, which it seems like they do. Oh, my opponent has just conceded. They don't. I get a win versus the Dirtle pile here, but that was a 1-4 league. Alrighty, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. I was asked to build around this card, and I think I did an okay job of adjusting the deck list that I got from Thomas to accomplish that goal. I believe having 12 of these gave very, very good density of things to do off of Ancient Tomb and Mox Diamonds to accelerate the game out quickly. Now that said, I think the deck needs a little more here. It's very easy for this deck to flood out. I think you might be able to do something along the lines of no Ghost Quarter, no Bojuka Bog, remove one of the 3 artifacts of some kind, and then cut some other land, and play 4 Malevolent Rumble. And that would give another way to keep these graveyard-oriented synergies going. It helps you find your Loam, it helps grow your Goyfs, gives you things to find with 6 and lands to return with Erinis. I also think it's possible to play removal that aren't Fatal Push and removal that works with 6. Or at least in the sideboard, if you want more removal, do things that can work with 6. An alternative to everything that I just said is you try to make the deck more controlling and you slow it down significantly, like get rid of Ancient Tombs or something and play 4x Maze of Ith, maybe up the Urborg and Yavimaya numbers, and intend on winning with your large threats eventually. I don't know that this card hits the bar of legacy playability. Like 3/3 Death Toucher for 3 that has to survive a turn to get value is not amazing. But for brewing around a pet card, I think we did fine today. And I'm going to give the list the shaky thumbs up in that this is, theoretically pretty solid for what it is. I'm sure there is some finessing to do. Maybe the deck wants a second Underground Mortuary. Maybe the deck wants a basic Swamp. I didn't put basic Swamp in the deck because I thought turn 1 Exploration was going to be a bigger deal than it was. Turns out that Mox Diamond was just more powerful than Exploration by a lot. Maybe you can cut the Explorations from the deck. They can do some silly things, but I didn't realize like the interaction between Exploration and 6, where 6 wants you to hold lands and Exploration wants you to play lands. There was some tension there. Maybe you can take Exploration out of the deck to explore some other slots as well. Like, become more controlling so that you can survive to play your land drops. Some Sheoldred's Edicts or something like that. I still really don't know how we beat, like, go-wide artifact strategies that just come out of the gates with 4 creatures on turn 1. Like, it seems like our 2 Toxic Deluges are it or bust. And then, very on the fence about Voidmere. Could just play Null Rod. Playing Voidmere lets us, in theory, continue to use a bunch of our colorless cards as long as we tap carefully. So, like, there is that, whereas Null Rod shuts off our Mox Diamond. Mox Diamond and Ancient Tomb were the best cards in the deck. The ability to, when you had both of those together, accelerate into any of the 12 3-drops was a really big deal. And just spitballing more, I guess you could also just play more creatures beyond this and start going into Orcish Bowmasters territory. And the more permanents you play, the better 6 gets. A, because 6 is protected, and B, because 6 gets more things to bring back. Or fuck it, we add blue as another color, and we just play 4x Tameo, and then 6 brings back our Tameos, and we give middle fingers to everyone while making, like, pew, 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 pew noises every time Tameo does the thing. That's somewhat parody, because, like, the Tameo wouldn't be particularly good in this deck without blue cantrips. But it is a very silly thing to bring back with 6, and it does spiral advantage, and you can use all of your abundant amounts of mana to do cool things with it. I don't know. Thomas, there's a lot of ideas for you, and I wish you the best of luck as you continue your brewing journey. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. I hope this was enjoyable. This was a fun one to play. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya.